Dear students, good day. Today we are going to learn about the last unit of Muslims' rule in Spain, course code 9129. The title of the course is Cultural and Intellectual Developments in Al-Andalus during Muslims' Era. If we talk about the objectives of this particular module, we have that to know the cultural and intellectual developments during the Umayyads and to explain how the influence of Islamic culture on Europe and its place in the history of culture and civilization. If we look at the overall 8th century rule of Muslims in this particular part of Europe, then we saw that the historiographers especially, they noted down that there was a big intellectual and cultural change in this particular country called Iberian Peninsula. There were much more intellectual developments such as the establishments of universities, establishment of libraries, scholarships for various students and studies in this particular region, and free boarding and lodging for the students who come to research. As well as if we talk about the cultural development, then we also saw that the development of various cities with the proper lighting, proper streets, proper mechanism of being a city was established. And the new city were established too, especially the city which was later on the capital of Iberian Peninsula under the Muslim rule. And then that is called the City of Kings. So that kind of development we saw during Muslims' rule. And if we particularly going through the cultural centers, and if we talk about the significance of various cities, especially Valencia, Cordoba, Murcia, Granada, and then we also see that the interfaith dynamics and intellectual cross-pollination during this particular time. At the same time, it was not only Muslims who contributed for the cultural and intellectual development, but we also saw Jewish contribution under the Umayyads. And in that, key figures were Hasde ibn Shaprut, Samuel ibn Nagrela, and ibn Gabirol. There are also Jewish roles in diplomacy, poetry, commerce, and medicine. And especially R.P. Schneidlin on Jewish prominence was there. We also see the economic integration and trade networks during Muslims' rule in Spain. And that trade network was such as slave trade routes were identified, especially Verdun, Lucena, Almeria. And then we also see the Mediterranean, where the trade laws were established so that the trade can be done peacefully, safely, and security was there. And then we also see there were various evidences provided by Ibrahim ibn Yaqub, Cairo Ganitha, Ibn Aqwal, the letters which they wrote and mention about the economic integration and the trade system under the Umayyads rule. There were also, like the various very unique dynamic we saw during the Muslims' rule in Iberian Peninsula, and that was the Jewish, Christian, Muslim trade dynamics. Especially the case studies of Al-Muadith of Toulouse abduction was there, and then the Jewish merchants and Muslims amirs as intermediary played their role to get that person back. And then we also saw the Christian Muslims economic ties via Jewish networks. So that is very much unique that these three religions under the Abraham religion, they traded together for the prosperity of the region. If we talk about the Islamic influence on European civilization, then we saw that the Cordoba's intellectual influence on Europe was very much prominent. Even still today, Alhambra and the mosque in Cordoba, which is half, like the Catholic church now, and the half still the mosque, remnants is there. So, like that kind of cities. And then there are also number of forts, number of castles were established. And then the new cities were established as mentioned earlier. And then we also saw the madrasas in 10th century in Cordoba, for instance. The Islamic scholarships had the long-term impact on Christian Europe. We also see the development of science under the Muslims' rule in Spain. If we talk about the artistic and scholarly life under the Mardanish regime, then we see that the Valencia and Murcia, they had much more influence. And then in that, especially the legal religious scholarship centers were established. And then we also saw the art where the Quranic illumination, Montegudo Palace architecture, and then figurative art before Almohad suppression. If we talk about the Almohad unification and cultural patronage during the Muslims' rule in Spain, then we also see that the various religious ideologies were erupted or were there, such as Tawheed, Mahdism, rejection of Abbasid and Fatimid legitimacy. Then the political symbols were there, such as Sukair dirhams, Berber khutbahs, and then also the comparison with Almoravid dynasty with the recent dynasty. If we talk about the philosophical renaissance under the Almohads, then we also see that Ibn Tufayl, Averroes, Ibn Rushd, the Muslim name, and then the Aristotelian commentaries and European influence were there. The translation of the Greek era was there as well. And then there was the intellectual freedom under Almohads, which later was suppressed during the decline of the Muslims' rule. Talking about all these various development and footprints which Muslims' rule left on Europe, and then if we conclude that, we saw that al-Andalus was the blend of religion, culture, and philosophy. It left the legacies of coexistence, mutual trade, knowledge transfer, and we also saw the paradoxes, which is like brilliance versus political unity and disunity. So that was the whole course of Muslims' rule in Spain, and that was the crux of the Muslims' influence on Europe. If we talk about the major bibliography, you can see on the screen the various books which are being taken for developing this particular course and this particular unit. So good luck and enjoy the reading. Thank you.